Welcome to Desperate Pace. I'm James.
And I'm Mike.
And today we have a really fun battle report for you. We've got Primal Terrors under Anamag, Classic, and Blindwater Congregation under Maelok the Dreadbound.
Bum, bum, bum.
I was really stoked about this matchup. How about you?
Really excited. I think both of us are trying to kind of suss out the list we're bringing to Warfare Weekend. So this is a good test run.
Yep, and it's both our first times at Warfare Weekend, formerly Warmachine Weekend.
Yep.
So kind of a big deal for us. So Anamag is part of a pair that you're bringing with Dagrosh 2, was the idea?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course I'm pairing mine with Helga. But before we get into the battle report, we just wanted to give everybody a heads up that we've noticed that there's a lack of beginner-friendly videos out there. There are some people who can definitely gravitate right towards things like Warmachine University or just sussing out the relevant information from the faction decks or anything like that. But there are some people who are visual learners or would like quick 15-minute video explaining their new battle box.
Well, it turns out, this game has a pretty steep learning curve if you're just jumping in.
Yeah, and one thing we see constantly is, hey, how do I use my battle box? Or what is my faction going to be like? Or where do I go from here? So we've decided to make a series of videos, some short 10 to 15 minute videos, just quickly explaining the battle box and the synergies in there and how it's kind of going to play, in addition to a battle report for each battle box.
Right. So we're going to try and set up a number of different pairs to make sure that you can see each battle box played out in the original, in a 30-inch by 30-inch field with maybe one scenario element and a bunch of terrain to give you a feel of not only a description of what the battle box is and what they do and what are the interactions, but also seeing it on the field.
Yeah, and we feel like that's an important thing for some people who just kind of need to see to learn or get a little bit more explanation to learn.
Like
and
myself.
Take it out of the abstract. Yeah. Yeah, for me, there's no replacement for it. And nothing's ever going to replace like an in-store demo or anything like that. But we think this is going to be a pretty good way to get people a little bit more confident to go into the store for that demo.
But to that point, it is going to take a lot more time and a lot more of our lives, our already very kind of jam-packed, busy lives. So we're thinking about starting this Patreon to help fund some of these videos, to help motivate and help encourage us to make quality content.
Yeah. In addition to that, it's also going to help offset the costs of the actual battle boxes that we have to buy for
this.
That's
a really good point.
So while we're going to beg, borrow, and steal whatever we can, some of it we just have to buy, and some of it we already have. So be on the lookout for that Patreon, and it would definitely, I think, help the community as a whole.
Absolutely.
If we can start getting some beginner-friendly content out there. So yeah, after that, we've got Warfare Weekend coming up, as we mentioned previously.
Just if you see us there, we'll be wearing shirts, and I guess hopefully everyone's wearing shirts, but we'll be wearing shirts that say Desperate Pace on there. So if you see us, you recognize us, say hi.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess that's all the prelude we need. On to the main show. Why don't we go through our list, Mike?
Absolutely. I started off with Anamag, the Doomfeaster. In that battle group, we have Ammok the Truthbearer, a Blightbringer, a Harrier, 3 Spell Martyrs, 2 max units of Chosen, a max unit of Warmongers with Gorag Rotteneye as an attachment, a min unit of Blighted Rotwings, and of course, 2 free Hellmouths.
Don't leave home without them.
Why would you not take them? They're free. They're free, James. Free.
Yes. All right, so in my list, I am bringing Maelok the Dreadbound. With him, he's got a Gatorman Soul Slave, a Blackhide Wrastler. It's Wrastler. He's got a Swamp Horror. We've got 2 Primal Archons, a Gatorman Witch Doctor, Long Chops, Gatorman Husk, Bone Shrine, 3 units of Gatorman Posse, all with a Void Leech. I'm pretty excited to bring some Primal Archons because I think they're much maligned, but I think they really sing with Maelok.
Yeah, because they're warrior models, so they're not only affected by the feat, but also his +2 armor
Death
buff.
Pact.
Yeah, Death Pact.
Yep. So they become undead. They can get a 4-point armor swing, counter charge, and the
Earthshaker.
yeah, Earthshaker is really good for mat fixing, which is huge with Gators, and the Shadowbind is also pretty big.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like this is where the Primal Archon belongs, and I wanted to see it on the table. So the scenario that we were running for this was Anarchy.
Anarchy.
So we've got 2 circles on either side, and then offset flags and offset objectives.
Yeah, I felt like this was, I mean, we rolled it randomly, but I thought this was a good kind of representation with 2 very unit-heavy armies, showing that, you know, you have 2 zones that both of us could easily score with, I mean, I had 5 units, you had a bunch. And
3, yeah.
And we also had heavy solos and flags, so it was a really good show for both of our lists.
Yeah, it had something for everybody, which is always nice. And then as far as terrain goes on this wonderful scenario, starting towards the top and going clockwise, we've got a building that is an obstruction. We've got a trench, rubble, forest, a wall, then some water. And right in the middle, we've got a wonderful cloud.
Yeah, clouds.
That was fun for me. But at the beginning of the game, Mike had the good idea to roll a die.
So I rolled a d6. 1 and 2 was a cloud. 3 and a 4, it was obstruction. 5 and a 6 was a forest. And we got a rolled a 2. So we had a cloud.
Yeah. So it was all fair. Pure chance that weighed towards Mike.
As it should.
Yes, as all things should.
All right, and without any further ado, let's get into the game. James, I believe you deployed first.
Okay, so going first was definitely advantageous for me. I was able to take up a lot of board space early. So having 3 units of posse makes it pretty easy to determine where things are going to go. This is really my first time with the list. Not really. I played it like roughly in the game before while half watching a Bears game. So with 3 units of posse, you kind of just put 1 central, 1 on each side, with the Archons more towards the outside. Or at least 1 towards the outside to contest that top zone. And then I've got 1 on the inside next to the Wrastler to either shoot out towards that right zone or stay in the middle to keep threatening things or potentially jam. The Soul Slave and Maelok are obviously going to be very central, and the Witch Doctor is going to be towards the bottom so it can support the Warcaster and the bottom units because of the terrain there.
All right. And then, with my deployment, I obviously want my Blightbringer behind that juicy cloud to give me some range targets I might be able to shoot at. Hoping to maybe snipe out a few solos or something like that with my ranged gun. Put Anamag centrally. She needs to be central for Carnage and her feet and everything else with that. I put the painted unit of Chosen surrounding the Blightbringer. The initial thought is to have 1 unit Chosen acting as kind of like a bubble shield for the Blightbringer, with the unpainted unit towards the bottom of the screen, and then I have the Warmongers towards the top. The goal is I want, if you notice, I put Gorag up on the front. I do want him up front so everything can get line of sight. I do end up running the rest of his unit around him actually later on because he is very much a target. He has a lot of mat fixing in here that I really don't need with against most Gators. So I try and keep him up front to begin with against more high def targets, so I realize that's not necessary for this list completely. And then I just tuck in the Rotwings behind the beefy Chosen. On to you.
And here I'm putting the Bone Shrine right up to the flag. there's my scoring piece, and it's also in a very good channel location where I can kind of get around the cloud, but also threaten the far zone because Maelok is more skewed towards the bottom zone there. The long chops is going to set up behind the wall.
Then I put one Hellmouth behind the forest on the left and the other one behind the cloud right in the middle. Now, I believe you did take the eyeless sight objective, but I was fairly confident that that Blightbringer aura would keep him safe, keep that middle Hellmouth safe. I wanted to play that one fairly aggressively. And I flip the clock over to you.
Yeah. So the Hellmouths are something I'm very worried about because you can just start pulling posse out of my kind of bubble there and pick them apart piece by piece, which is not optimal. But I need to be aggressive with them kind of no matter what. So here we go with Maelok. He's going to do Death Pact and put Soul Harvester on the middle unit there. Sort of a mistake later on because they're not going to wind up getting near anything with souls. The top unit of Gators is going to run up into that water and take advantage of that sweet, sweet amphibious attribute. And we're checking the control for Maelok to make sure we can get the Primal Archon right in there. He's got Pathfinder, so he can kind of just go through whatever. There I was measuring the 7-inch walk threat range of the Tentacles there and putting the Gators right up next to the forest. Applying that early pressure to each zone is going to make it so that I can leverage the fact that I've got 1 inch of potential threat range on the Chosen. Again, checking the 7-inch walk and threat range of the Tentacles since they can't see through the clouds. Long Chops is just going to position himself behind the wall right next to that Gatorman Soul Slave. Then we're going to Death Ride on the Witch Doctor to give a little bit extra room to the Wrastler to get up there and really threaten things. I want to make sure that I've got pressure on the Blightbringer early on. And then the middle unit of the Gatorman Posse are just going to move on up. And then we've got the 13-inch run on the Primal Archon due to the Death Ride. I'm not going to get quite past the objective. I think I should have planned it out a little bit better. Disappointed in that, but, you know, what can you do? Life's hard when you're stupid. And we've got the Swamp Horror represented by the Mini Crate Swamp Siren that is going to get a 9-inch run because Field Marshal Undead. And then it's over to Mike.
Yeah, so I was really shocked at quite how fast those Gators were. I was not expecting to lose that much ground on turn 1, which put me in a bit of a tough spot. Again, I had positioned that Blightbringer initially to get a few shots off, to keep it back, and to kind of really pressure back, but I was on the fence because one thing, I can move it up 5 inches and take a shot, or I can move it up 10 inches and really kind of push that front line. And my thought process was keeping the Blightbringer back would put that line of engagement well far, like kind of even out of the zones, pretty darn close to my deployment. I was not okay with that. So, you know, fortune favors the bold, and I decide to actually run the Blightbringer up, don't get any shots, really kind of lose out on that benefit of that eyeless sight. So I place a proxy down of where he's going. And because I kind of jammed everything in deployment really tightly, which ends up being a bit of an error, as you'll see in a minute here. But I go to activate Anamag first, end up casting Bond of Gristle and Bone on the painted Chosen. I check to make sure she can actually walk out of there. And then I leave her camping 5, I believe, and just charge the Bone Shrine or some other model that I had line of sight to, and I end up just running right into the objective there. But get her down the field a little bit, camping 5, and have that upkeep out. just run the Harrier up in front of the Blightbringer. I'm imagining that he can get a few posse on that Blightbringer, maybe get the Wrastler on there. So I'm hoping that the annoyance from the Harrier might do something. Although thinking back to it now, he's defense 9. That extra 1 point of defense is not going to matter. In retrospect, I definitely probably should have kept the Harrier closer to Anamag, further back as just a extra piece there. Then I activate the Hellmouths. One mistake I made was I didn't put a tentacle in the cloud. So Hellmouths, even though they don't have eyes, don't have eyeless sight. So I could not get a charge on any of his models behind the cloud, meaning I wasn't able to, and he kept it very well out of 7 inches, which is the walk and pull range of a tentacle. Meaning I just ended up running them and jamming them up with some hopefully arm 17 tentacles, which are, not trivial to remove, especially with impervious flesh. I'm hoping to get a good solid jam up there. And seeing that bone shrine there, I had completely forgotten it was an arc node. I knew that you had mortality on Maelok, and I knew mortality is the bane of the Chosen, but first time playing in a Maelok with Chosen, I got kind of cocky. With Bond of Gristle and Bone, Blightbringer Aura, I'm feeling Arm 21 Chosen, they're pretty much invincible, was kind of my mindset going in, so I run them down. I did make the mistake here of kind of jamming one of those Chosen in, so here he is going on a nice little jaunt around the Warmongers, very much moving him out of control range or command range. But I really wanted to make sure that I got those Warmongers in that gap between the objective and the obstruction, because I wanted them to kind of follow up and really hit hard on feet turn, which I'm hoping will be next turn. Here it is, now that the Blightbringer is free to move, he moves on up. Just running, using the Dragon's Breath aura to give +2 armor and strength. Now I activate the bottom tentacles, getting 2 of them within that aura. There again, wanting to get a nice kind of screening model. Now those are arm 17 impervious flesh. I move up, I think 1 beyond the tentacles, 2 beyond the tentacles, and everyone else hiding safely back behind. There we go. And then of course the birds just fly up nice behind them. I did make sure that those Chosen were base to base to block any line of sight. I know there's not a whole lot of shooting, but just to make sure. Move the spell martyrs up and pass clock.
Yeah. And so now I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, there is a great many juicy targets here, but the Blightbringer is not one of them for the Wrastler, unfortunately. With Death Ride, the Wrastler has a 10-inch threat range. I think you were at like 10 and a quarter or 10 and a half.
All expertly measured.
Uh-huh.
No, not
yep,
at all.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like, it's turn 2. If he's that far up, then there's a problem. So, one of the disadvantages to having only played this caster like twice or like 3 times max is you've got to go back and read your card, which definitely burns some clock. So I'm measuring things out and I'm thinking to myself, this is definitely going to be feet turn. This is when I'm going to get way up in his grill and laugh and laugh and laugh.
Now those posse, they're POW 13s, right?
Yeah, so they've got 2 POW 13s, one's a 1/2 inch and one's a 2 inch. So what happens is that they can do one of their prayers that gives them an extra 2 inches on the charge against living models. And then that, along with Death Ride, winds up giving you a full 13-inch threat range. So 13 inches, POW 13, MAT 6, charge is nothing to scoff at. But the nice thing is a lot of the stuff is actually within 10 inches, which means I can do the reroll misses on some of the gators as well. So
yeah, just really quickly, I want to maybe justify why I ran everything so far up. Again, I was really under the thought process that Arm 19, Arm 21 Chosen, even with mortality, could stand up to POW 13s. I really was feeling fairly confident that, yes, I moved everything up. You're going to have a hard time dealing with it. And then I'm going to come back with that counterpunch with Anamag's feat. So I was very cocky by running everything up. Looking back, probably should have kept it out of 10 inches, so you had to do the prayer that gives you the +2 inches.
Yeah, I think I did that prayer on 1 unit, but that is about it. The other thing is, so there's the nice offensive component of the feat, which gives you incorporeal, which makes the things like the Hellmouth Tentacles irrelevant, as far as I'm concerned there. Then there's the defensive component of the feat, which is the added armor. So the Death Pact makes all of my warrior models undead. My Field Marshal makes my war beasts undead. And then the feat gives all friendly undead models incorporeal and +2 armor for 1 round. So I get the double whammy of getting way up in his face, denying a lot of counterplay in the form of charges, removing some threats, and then being armed 22 with 8 boxes. Jesus. Which, even under Anamag's feat turn, you're not typically going to crack all the way through. And even if you do, there's things like tough checks and all sorts of weirdness that can occur. But it gets rough, because on your feat turn you can get 1 unit up to like POW 20, right?
Well, so yeah, on feat turn I could get 3 units if I spend all my stack. I get 3 units up to, so the chosen go up to POW 21 under the Blightbringer aura and feat and fury strength, and the Warmongers would go up to POW 20.
Yeah. So here I'm spending 10 minutes in the tank, you'll notice, on that very glary clock. Just thinking about what I'm doing. So my first move is getting the Witch Doctor into position for the Death Ride, now that I've kind of got the plan formulated in my head. It was the initial plan that I made in the first 2 minutes, but I spent the other 8 minutes double checking my work and second guessing myself. And then here I am second guessing myself again.
Speaking of second guessing yourself, I had the initial plan of having that Blightbringer very central, and then having the Painted Chosen kind of wrap around it. I had instead then, with the mess up of the deployment of the Chosen, opted to instead try and position the Blightbringer to be directly between those 2 Hellmouths, so both of them get up to arm 20, which really exposed that Blightbringer not having any bubble wrap around it. So all my Chosen are scattered off into the wind. Blightbringer's out by himself. Definitely having second thoughts, or wishing I would have second guessed my placement of that.
Yeah.
So is this Long Chops making a shot? Or oh no, this is the Mortality.
This is the first Mortality coming off. It's channeled through the Bone Shrine on the top unit of Chosen. And here we're going to wind up with some charges. They have to be staggered in a very specific way, because line of sight is a slight issue. So line of sight and total threat range, but you can see being able to measure out that 11 because of the Death Ride makes a huge difference in how many I can actually squeeze in there. So the last one's just going to pack in there. So now I've got Gators on 3 Chosen.
This is where my jaw hits the
top
floor.
Of 2. Yeah.
I was like, oh right, incorporeal. That's right.
Yep. So POW 13s, they start doing work. So I stacked 2 dudes per Chosen and then 1 dude on the last one. Being able to get that second attack in, even though it's, dice off something, 1 or 2 still helps because it skews the math even more. Yeah. So we've got 2 Chosen And now we're on to the chosen that's out of the aura. So we're dice off 6. So the first one with the charge attack is going to do a few points. And the next charge attack is going to do a few points. And then we've got the basic attack, which just cranks it. Like Hero Gator, I think I rolled a 10 or 11.
Yeah. No healing, no tough checks. Really, really cripple the chosen way more than I had thought.
Yeah. So, because I think they were that last one was effectively a arm 15.
No, arm 17. They did have that buff still on them, but yeah.
Gotcha. So the next thing is sending in the Primal Archon to knock down, I think 3 chosen.
Yep.
And smack the crap out of a tentacle.
Yep. That was a very... I did not plan for that at all. I should have anticipated that was a very nice little 4-inch AoE knocking down all of my models.
Yep. And second attack knocks down, or kills the other tentacle, which knocks down the chosen right next to the maw right there that Mike is pointing at right now.
Yep.
All right, so now I've got an actual delay tactic on the other chosen that are out of range of Ammok. I think all the chosen that are out of range of Ammok's rise ability are now knocked down.
Correct. Yep.
And now it's the follow-up that needs to occur. So I get the Gatorman Soul Slave in there, and he's going to cast Mortality on the knockdown chosen, which hits with a 3. Yay. The Soul Slave's ability, along with Maelok, is just insanely good, and you can boost it, and even though it's magic ability 4, it's going to hit stuff. With the Primal Archon is really good because you can just knock down a member of the unit, and now you just need anything but with a magic ability 4, so you don't even need to damage it. So now we've got some follow-up. We've got our fun little gator boys over here charging in on the knockdown chosens and really getting up in there while staying within Maelok's bubble. That 14-inch bubble is huge.
Yeah.
Like, just absolutely massive. So here, I think their armor is lower because this is the unit without Bondigger Soul and Bone. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. So they are arm 15 when they're out of the aura, arm 17 when they're in the aura.
Yeah, these guys are just melting. I get a tentacle as like a fun little bonus. So I've got the 3 tentacles out. I'll say it every game. Get as many tentacles as you can in a single run. Because if you can keep them to 1 or 2 tentacles, it really delays the efficacy. So now I've taken 5 chosen for kind of free. I mean, free for now, right? You're still gonna hit me with some stuff, but so I'm feeling pretty good. I've got this nice beef wall, and I'm gonna get the swamp horror up behind. So on the next turn, when I start losing things, I can play some weird positioning games more central to the board with the 4-inch reach and the pull. Then we've got Long Chops, who got Isle of Sight. He's just gonna pop a shot, I believe, at the Harrier. And that just, I think it does 10 damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we've got the, and we've got the middle unit of Chosen here. Kind of diving in. Or middle unit of Posse. Sorry, my brain just exploded. So they're going to finish off the Harrier here. That takes away one of your war beasts.
Yep.
We get another tentacle because we need to kill tentacles. And we get those middle tentacles. Because even though they aren't a huge bother right now, again, whittling away at them is pretty much the only thing you can do early on against a Hellmouth. Especially one behind a goddamn cloud. And then we get the Primal Archon up here. I'm kind of hemming and hawing about positioning. but finally settle on that. It stays in Maelok's aura, but has some countercharge potential. And I get a little gimme there to get my Voidling up with the rest of his friends and pass the turn.
Yeah, so I greatly underestimated the threat ranges and the damage that could be output by those posse. I really was cocky with my positioning, thinking nothing was really going to happen this turn. I was then going to be able to reposition the Chosen in a more optimal way on the following turn. But wow, that just, yeah, you can see me just in shock over what just happened there. So the plan now is to kind of collect it, and when you have a bad turn, when you have a misplay, it's important to then get back into it and try and make the best of that, right? You can just sit there, with your hands in your head for the rest of the game, but that's not going to do anything. So I go back up to full with Anamag. I still have a full unit of Warmongers, definitely within charge range of those posse. I have the Blightbringer still central, 3 Chosen, which can do stuff, but more importantly, I have a full unit of Rotwings, and the Rotwings can definitely hit hard. So start off with the maintenance phase, go ahead and put a Tentacle into the zone, and contesting the flag. That was where I had intended to place a Hellmouth, so that way that Tentacle is still in range to contest both of those. I then put another Tentacle just kind of in that group, engaging them, and hopefully maybe getting a pull or something like that. So I believe I start off by activating the Hellmouths first, I think. Yes. So I'm looking at this, I'm looking at the bottom Chosen, thinking if they stand up, what could they do? And so I just roll the attack into the back arc of one of those Gatormen, trying to pull one over, roll double ones, not off to a great start. Try and kill that little Voidling with the Tentacle under Maelok's feet, and Death Pact doesn't kill it, actually.
He's too strong.
That POW 10 was not enough.
Too beefy a Voidling.
Yep.
Swolefish.
Here James is confirming that yes, everything is in feet. So
everything the light touches is my king.
So looking at here, what should happen is I should move that Blightbringer back, take the free strike, scooch it back out of threat of the Wrastler. But man, I am a little not thinking straight at this point and want to kill something. So I opt to activate the Blightbringer and kill that Gatorman posse. I realize, this is me realizing that by moving the Blightbringer up, I can't position it with a flag there to kill anything but a single Gatorman posse, which I definitely do. Turns out a Colossal can kill one warrior model. Weird. Managed to...
I think on 2 attacks.
On like 4 attacks, yeah, but it's okay. The dice were not in my favor at this point. And there we go. Finally finish it off. And like I said, it's definitely in a worrisome location. I do rile it, or I don't rile it. I cast its Animus, that Boiling Blood. Realizing they're POW 10s. They're probably not, the sprays are a POW 10 spray. Probably not going to do a whole bunch. But it's still good to have that, as get a little chip damage. Activate Anamag next. She scooches over to the Blightbringer. Tries to get a little bit more central there for those Rotwings. She feats, casts Fury Strength on those Rotwings there. And then I believe cast Fury Strength on the Warmongers. And I think cast Fury Strength one more time? No. Anyway. So now I go with the Warmongers. So with feet up, Fury Strength on the charge, they're POW 14 base, 16 with Fury Strength, 18 effectively with feet, gives -2 aura and grievous wounds, and then I believe one of them is in the Blightbringer aura. And so that brings it up to then POW 20. So I get 1, 2, 3 charges in on some different Gatormen.
And see here, I'm trying to figure out if I want to counter charge. And that's why the clock is on me right now. It's because Mike and I didn't realize that that tentacle was there for like a minute and a half.
Yeah. Here we are measuring it out. Could you get the charge? What would it look like? How many of your own dudes knocked down? And eventually we're like, oh wait, it's engaged with the tentacle right there. Which again was completely intentional. Here you are pointing at it. I'm like, oh right. No, that was a complete. I forgot it was there.
I mean, yeah. We both could have seen it.
Yep. Go ahead, move the charges up. I was thinking about getting one onto the Primal Archon, but couldn't fit it between the model and the obstruction. So I opt to instead just charge it into one of the posse there. That posse back there, yep. Or maybe I could get him past there. There we go. Yep. So I charged into that far gator. I couldn't charge the Archon or something. That was it.
I think in the end you didn't want to.
Yeah. Because that's ARM 23, right?
Yeah.
So I'll go for the ARM 22 target instead. Here I am seeing if I put Gorag there, which of the Gatormen would get line of sight to Gorag, giving that -2 defense. They're def 12, so that -2 defense doesn't really matter a whole bunch, considering they're mat 8 on the charge, and then they go up to mat 10 with Carnage. Now Carnage isn't up just yet, but I'm hoping to kill one of these and get a ritual cast of Carnage. So here I'm counting up. Yes, they are POW 20. So first charge attack. Oh, it looks like those 3 were actually within 6 inches of the Blightbringer. So first charge attack hits, and with POW 20, I'm dice off 2. I think, yeah, I do end up doing 6 damage to the first one, which it's at this point that I realize, oh wait, I might not just melt them with Anamag's feet like I had thought. So get that one.
That guy got melted.
Yeah. Ritual cast Carnage. So everything now gets +2 for attacks while there. Right, so Gorag's charge target ends up getting killed, so the redirected charge doesn't work. So now we just keep going down the line. Gorag doesn't get a charge attack. So we already did those 2. So the third one onto that front gator there. Hits and does 5 damage.
It's really nice having a giant screen tracking the damage on this.
Yeah. You can see how ineffectual my unit charge attacks are in real time.
Well, I think it's more your dice, but yeah, dice off 2, you're going to be averaging sometimes 8 on the high side.
Yeah. Figuring out what to do with Ammok. I'm figuring that unit's probably going to get knocked down by the Primal Archon or by having to make some tough checks. End up trying to get him a little bit safe. I'm thinking about maybe moving that Chosen to block line of sight, or hopefully killing it with the Chosen. So kind of move him up pretty aggressively. Oh, that's what I did. I moved him up 5 inches to do Unbinding to get the Soul Harvester off that middle unit. End up doing 2 damage to Maelok, but you know, better than nothing. And he is more centrally located for that rise. So moving down to the bottom half of the screen. Nope, just kidding. We're on the painted unit still. That I go ahead and do a run charge order. He charges the middle one, get an impact attack. POW 16 with feet, actually. And then I do the charge attack. I must have... Or no, I remember. I rolled 3 dice when I meant to only roll 2. This guy now ends up having to make a full advance, or runs directly towards the unit leader to get within control range, or command range, rather. Here I am now on the bottom
is
half.
his love language.
Yes. I think it's only a 7-inch, or 8. It's an 8-inch command range. So a few of these chosen stand up, and they sacrifice their combat action just so they can move and engage. I believe one of them was not knocked down. Oh, right. I forgot to repo. So James was gracious enough to let me take my repo and get him back to again, block line of sight to Anamag was my initial plan for that unit with the repo.
Yeah, pretty much the nicest guy in the world.
It's true. Well, you've murdered half my army is the least you can do.
I'm full from blood.
Here I am seeing if I get an impact attack, what that's going to look like, if that's even possible. And I make it happen. Hit on both of them, end up not doing a whole bunch of damage. So, no damage done on those impact attacks. Now, charge attack onto the Primal Archon. Now, this is important. So, I hit the Primal Archon. It is a POW 19 because I did not cast Fury Strength on it. So I managed to do a good chunk of damage, but more importantly, I've now triggered Finisher for the Rotwings. So the Rotwings, those two are now Shadowbound because they ended their movement within 3 inches of the Archon. I thought it was ended activation, but it ended movement. So that makes repo really, really tough. And oh right, yeah, so this is where I end up using proxies because these darn wings are just too hard to get under the overhang of the Primal Archon. I think those are lesser pigs from the Minions battle box.
Yeah.
Here we are confirming that we can get that one Rotwing within half inch, and the rest of them just go ahead and fly over to just engage and kind of jam up what's around there. And so I believe I got 4 Rotwings onto the Primal Archon. Now they're POW 9 base, but that goes up to POW 11 with Fury Strength, POW 13 while within the Blightbringer, and then POW 15 while under feet. Oh, and here he is asking if I was actually able to cast that through the Blightbringer. I didn't have to. She had line of sight because some of them were back behind the Blightbringer. I think the way Anamag was angled, it would have made it a little bit more difficult to do that, but I think that was another gimme, letting me just rotate her a little bit with that.
Yeah, but look at these dice.
Yeah, so these are all going to be 4 dice charges at POW 15. Dice off 7, dice off 8. 4 dice, I managed to get a few spikes, and those Rotwings go. Now, I realize they don't get the repo, because it's at the end of the movement, they get Shadowbound, so there I cheat a little bit, and again, thinking it was at end of activation, not end of movement for Shadowbind, for the Roiling Earth.
Well, on to me.
Yep.
You'll notice there's no Fury pile next to any of my bees. There should be one next to the Swamp Pour, because it's speed 4. It would have had to have run. But the Wrastler just got nudged, so here I am figuring out how much I have to cut with Maelok to get up to full Fury. Because if Maelok doesn't have all of his Fury, it's a very, very sad gator. You often hear about crocodile tears, but
Yep.
I don't want to see him, you know? It just looks so sad. If he's not furious, he's sad. So here I am trying to figure out, okay, can I take out that Blightbringer? That Blightbringer, that's the centerpiece of the army. It's where he's going to be getting a lot of his strength buffs. If I can take out the strength buffs, outside feet turn, I don't want to say you're pillow-fisted, but life's not great against Arm 20.
Yeah.
Yep.
It becomes exponentially more difficult without a Blightbringer.
Yeah. Subtracting 2 from that equation is definitely a big deal. So I need to do that. Clock is bleeding. I think now I'm probably down to 10 or something like that. The glare on the clock is pretty rough. We will revise that next video to be sure.
Yes. Put some sunglasses on it.
Yep. So now we're... I tried to cast Immortality through the Soul Slave at the Blightbringer, but he misses. So he will be set on fire later.
Isn't he already on fire?
Yeah, pretty much. Maelok moves up. He's going to cast his Death Pact and Rage on the Wrastler and the Swamp Horror, leaving him on... It would usually be 1, but took 1 off the shrine, and the gods were angry, or the spirits were angry. So now we're moving up this unit, the middle Gator unit, to sort of just take out that tentacle there. That frees up the Primal Archon, as well as stops him from contesting the zone there. And now we're on to the Wrastler, who's just going through, and I'm kind of flubbing the damage rolls here. You'll notice like 4s and 5s on the damage roll. I think I'm at dice... Your arm 17. I'm at dice plus...
Well, no, I'm arm 19 because you flubbed the mortality.
No, yes, that's right, arm 19. So I'm at dice plus 1, but still just don't do enough. So we have to go in with the Raged Swamp Horror and clean it up.
Yep.
And then we get another attack. I try to take out the Hellmouth, which is stupid. I should have just gone for the other Chosen. I probably could have smacked him around something good.
Yeah, that was... I thought you were attacking the Chosen, and so I rolled for healing, but Hellmouths don't have rapid healing. Though maybe they should. Have we considered that? Can someone look into that?
Yeah, they do need a buff.
Right. They're pretty weak.
Yeah, we'll take a pull at Warfare Weekend and die. So I do nothing to the Hellmouth. I think I probably put like 2 or 3 damage on it. That's fine. Clock's ticking. I don't need time anyway. I hate it. It's holding me back. So now we use the Primal Archon. We just move him up. Smack that Warmonger there.
Yep.
Knock a bunch of stuff down. So those 3 are knocked down. The dude who is smacked actually goes through and survives on 1.
Yep. See your beat back and get a second knockdown. But I think everything in that aura was knocked down already.
Yeah.
Point of where he's not actually facing that way. It's just the Primal Archon has a lot of overhang, and it's difficult to get that frontal charge.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, I think this is where we're checking. We realize that the Earthshaker is a can effect. It's optional. So you were debating whether or not you wanted to knock down, because I think you would have gotten 1 more Warmonger knockdown, but it would have knocked down 2 of your Gators.
Yeah, which I can't afford this turn. So yeah, take a swing with the Primal, and now I'm moving this unit into the zone to score because I'm low enough on clock where I need to start going up in points. He starts taking free strikes on the 2 Gators that were engaged, and he kills them.
Which
is great. Grievous wounds means they can't heal, so I don't get my tough roll.
I was really hoping for that knockdown Gator out of the zone, doesn't score, but that didn't happen.
This is called turning Grievous as a boon for you, you know? And then here I've got, I think, 2.5 minutes left, and I am just going down this conga line with that bottom unit of Posse. Everything's lined up, so it actually just makes it easy to roll dice real fast. Not so fast that Mike can't keep up. As you can see, we're doing all our due diligence and making sure we're tracking everything appropriately.
Yeah, you were really good, and this is important because you were really good at communicating the rolls, the damage, but also me as a player, I was good at like acknowledging it and keeping up. But you were definitely rolling quickly, but always making sure I was understanding and being very respectful of that. So that was really good.
Yeah, and those hurry up modes, you can get stupidly sloppy, and that's something to avoid. So here Long Chops is just going to take a shot. Or I think he misses.
Yeah, I believe I was engaged. So
yeah. Retrieving a die that went overboard.
Yeah. So on to my turn. I'm looking at this, and I definitely see the clock as a advantage right now. So I try to just get as much as I can as quickly as I can, but there is a Wrastler within 5 inches of Anamag. So that definitely has me very much worried. And I start going to think, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? So I have to end up relying on my unit of Warmongers. Most of them are still alive. So they all stand up because of Rise from Ammok, which is amazing. We just confirmed that the Archon is facing straight there because he did the beat pack, he did the charge on that one Warmonger that was standing there. This is me just doing some quick vengeance moves and attacks. And nothing really doing with that. No damage on that Arm 21 now, I believe, because feed is over. Arm 21 Archon. Those vengeance attacks aren't going to do much without the Blightbringer, without Fury Strength, without the charge. Extra die. I'm not cracking that armor. So
I think at this point he's Arm 19. I think he's out of the
he is.
aura.
Oh, okay, yeah, but still, they're only POW 14s, so maybe do a point or two, but I don't get lucky with that die. So the point is I only end up using the vengeance attacks on the 2 that were already engaged by him. The rest of them kind of position out to hopefully get some good solid charge attacks in on the next turn. What I forget is that vengeance means that even ending that vengeance advance, they're still shadowbound. So that definitely puts a bit of a damper on some of those charge lanes I had initially thought. Definitely had I remembered that, probably would have scooched them in a little bit closer to allow for the other remaining Warmongers to attack over, but that's how it goes. So Anamag goes and hides.
And while he's coughing up a lung, he's just going to go in and make a bunch of attacks on this Primal Archon here.
All right.
It's pretty easy to hit.
Yeah, so Anamag goes and hides. I realize there's no point in camping any Fury when all your beasts are dead. So she burns her whole stack, dropping Fury Strength on whatever she can. Warmongers get those few charges in. And I think we're able to take it out. Yeah, get some good spikes there. Fury Strength still doing its work. Bring him up to POW 16. Dice off 3. Able to take it out. But unfortunately, with those shadow binds and everything else, I was not able to get in a better position to contest that zone other than with that single spell martyr. So it's definitely going to be a kind of a tough scenario for me now. So there's no way from this point on I'm getting a single scenario point with everything all up in my face. And that bottom flank was just very quickly devoured. But I'm able to get a few attacks with the Chosen. Managed to get a pretty hardy spike with there. I think I rolled on an impact attack double 6s. End up doing an additional point or 2 of damage with that. So charge attack. Yeah, so chunk it a little bit. Get a little reposition there. Bond and Gristle and Bone goes back up on those Chosen, I believe, when Anamag had activated. So I have 1 Rotwing left, 2 Rotwings left. I just run the Rotwings because none of those Gatormen are damaged down there. They're just POW 9s, so I don't even bother rolling damage at that point. I move the Chosen over to contest, and I make an attack, and then pass clock over to you.
So I have to do a frenzy check here on the Swamp War, and then I'm just going to quickly clear that Tentacle out and do the rerolls on the Forsaken at the top. Smack the clock off
I forgot
in
about this.
such a frenzy.
Hey, but now look, he's in a better spot. We can actually read the clock.
Yeah. Yeah, so I end my turn with 54 seconds left, and I go up another 2. And I think we're at turn 5 at this point.
Yeah. So it's 4-0 at this point. I put that tentacle there to contest the flag and the central zone. I'm running low on clock as well. I get the Warmongers. One of them takes a free strike, dies. Get those Warmongers up there. If you walk, not even, or one of them ran, get 2 or 3 charges in, try and kill them, and end up clocking out on those charges. So.
And as always, the post-game handshake.
Yep.
Yeah, both our lists were a lot of beef, and you were swinging strength, and I was swinging arm, which I thought made for kind of an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it ended up kind of canceling out there, like my feet, your feet. A few thoughts I had really quick was Anamag is really strong, and I felt like that was a strong list. I just, one, did not respect the speed of the Gators with making them all undead, and giving +1 to movement with that was kind of crazy.
That extra inch of board space puts me right behind a zone.
Absolutely. And I also did not respect mortality enough. I think I forgot that you could spell slave mortality out. Having both my units have chosen mortality'd, that meant those POW 13 charges from 13 inches away could just tear right through them.
Crix players, take note. Denny 3 should be storming your meta shortly.
Other than that, I wish I would have stuck with that initial plan. I do feel a little foolish now seeing this on tape. I had a plan of bubble wrapping that Blightbringer with the painted unit chosen. I completely disregarded that plan as soon as turn 1 hit. So I think had I stuck with my plan, had I respected the threat range a little bit more, stayed a little bit further back, I would have been able to have a better counterpunch. Being forced into feeding as a countermeasure to your feat really limited the amount of damage I was able to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to position Soul Harvester better next time. Having the extra Fury would have made that game a lot easier for me. I'd be able to crank out more mortalities. But otherwise, I think that Maelok is the king of the world, and nothing needs to change there, and everything's perfect.
Right.
Primal Archons, too, I think are maybe catching a bit more flack than they deserve. It's not their fault they're not Menite Archons. But I think surrounded by the right things, they can actually be some beefy dudes.
Plus, really good hit fixing. I mean, Shadowbind is what, -3 defense, right?
Yeah, -3 defense, and you can't move except to change facing. The problem is the duration gets a little weird. But what can you do? You can't have it all, right? I mean, you can if you're Maelok.
Right.
But otherwise, I think it was a really good game. We got past turn 3, which is always nice.
We're working on clock management, definitely improving every game.
Yep, it's the small steps that matter.
Baby steps.
Yeah, but otherwise, thank you all for watching another game. And as always, like and subscribe our videos and tell your friends about us because we're so cool.
Yeah, say hi to us at Warfare Weekend.
Yeah, or don't, whatever. And if you see anything in the video that you thought was wrong or you've got suggestions about how we can improve, please leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. So, as always, I'm James.
And I'm Mike.
Thanks for watching.
Bye.